guys know, on YouTube we've been doing this fish tank build. I'm going to try to post it all as one video. And so this is what the frame looks like. This is how far we got with the legs and stuff. One of the mistakes I made, and if you guys get a chance to do this with this 2x4 build, make sure you cut these legs so that this face stays straight. And the reason for that is I actually, by dubbing them on all four sides, I changed the center line, and that's not something I wanted to do. So I had it to do over again, I would have left this face straight, and I would have cut this with a much deeper angle from the back, and that would have kept the legs all the way out to the front. So that was a mistake on my part. If I had to do it over again, I would change that, but I'm not going to. So we've got a brace in here for his filter setup, and then we want a drawer in here. And so what we've done is we've cut some plywood pieces here. The drawer ended up being, for his particular fish tank, 41 by basically 12 and a half, and then we're going to make it almost 8 inches deep because that fits a lot of his little supplies. So what we're going to do now is we're going to glue up these sides in the front and the back, and I'm just going to pin nail them in and then clamp them once I get it pin nailed, and we'll let the glue set up, probably take about an hour, and then we'll come back and we'll add a face to the drawer. We're just going to, again, this project was about using 2x4s, so we're not going to do anything fancy. We're just going to add a 2x4 face on there, and we're going to get the drawer guides in. I couldn't find guides that were under 12 inches, so we're just going to make wood guides the best we can and keep this project real cheap, and we'll get back to you guys. We good? All right. So what we did is we made the shelf and glued it and pin nailed it, and then I had some ripped down 2x4 or 2x4s for another project we were doing, and we're just going to do kind of the 2x4 look, right? That's the whole point of this project, is to use 2x4s. So we just made a fascia out of the ripped down 2x4s, and as you can see in the camera, they're just two strips, and you can even see the plywood outside. And we'll put a knob in the top, sand it down, it'll look great. So that's how we finished this up. These are ripped down to I think they're 3/8 or 1/4. And we put the nice side of the plywood inside the drawer in here, and all the junky stuff is on the outside. So we'll get this sanded down and move on with things. Thanks. All right, guys, how's it going? I figured I'd talk a little bit today about where I'm at on this fish tank stand. And we skipped quite a bit of the stuff. We skipped putting braces in. We skipped putting the rails in for the drawer. I believe we showed the drawer itself, but we skipped sanding. There was a ton of sanding to do, both with the belt sander and then with the orbital sander, because it's rough wood. So one of the bad things about using rough lumber or semi-rough lumber is that it is not ready to be stained right away. So I'm all by myself today, so I'm doing double duty as far as cameraman and speaker. So what I'll do is I'll show you guys what we've done and what we used, what materials we used. If you're going to do a project like this, it may be similar, but you may also use some slightly different materials. For the slides, I considered using 1/8 inch by 1 inch aluminum, just going and getting some flat bar from the metal supplier. And so I'll go ahead and get this thing unmounted and talk to you guys about what the actual new changes are. So what we have here is we ended up making rails, believe it or not, out of paint sticks that they gave me at the automotive store. They were about 1/16 of an inch thick. They're made out of bamboo. They slide great. One of the problems we had when we installed the drawer, and the drawer's right here, and you can see it's also got a matching slide that goes in between those two. And the way I was able to get those to match up is I put all three down, spaced them evenly, and I nailed these two down, glued and nailed them down first. And then I got the drawer in there and was able to slide it out just a teeny bit and nail up front here, and then come back in here and pin nail in here. And then I had already put glue down before I slid it in, so it was pre-glued. So both of these are glued and pin nailed. Same with that, glued and pin nailed, and they're matched to the actual slide itself. So that's a way of doing it in place where you know they match, you know they're going to slide parallel and even. I made sure the sides were all sanded down even. I touched them on a belt sander to make sure they were at least flat so I could get them parallel. And then what we're having a problem with is the drawer was coming out of the guides because they're so small. So we installed this piece right here, and that piece is about a 1/16th to a 32nd of an inch away from the drawer. And what it does is it rides, it's been sanded smooth, belt sanded as well. It rides against the top of this drawer here to keep the drawer from tipping and being able to come out of the slides. Let's see what else. I installed some, I had to end up installing this stretcher. And the reason I installed that was because these legs had pulled in. My drawer is exactly 48 and the legs had pulled in to be just under 48. So not only did we have to install the stretcher, but I did have to do some magic belt sanding in here and just pull off like maybe a 32nd on each side, and that ended up making the drawer fit nice and tight. This is how it's, so this is how it sits, like this, and then there will be a handle. Where's my stainless handle? There will be a handle that goes right here like that, and then of course it'll be stained. So, and then what we ended up doing over here, let me see if I'll just pull it off of here. We ended up making a little shelf right there for Tyler's. It's going to end up being his fish tank, you know, food and whatever else he decides to have right there is what that shelf is for. So this whole extra piece right here is past the fish tank. We're going to install a filter down under here, down under the fish tank. Let me see if I can tip it back. And I can probably document that process, but it's going to go on that back brace back there. And it's going to be the pump and the filter. It's a little tippy. I don't know if that's because my table isn't straight. Very possibly could be, or it may actually be that far out. If it is, I may put adjustable feet on there, or I may just sand those two offending legs down slightly. So that's where we're at now. Obviously, you guys can see how tight that drawer is, so I got to fix that before I go and stain this thing. So I just kind of wanted to show you guys where it's at. That drawer will fit all of his little fish tank supplies and whatnot. And we'll get back to you with it stained and some hardware on it. Thanks.